Welcome back, everyone. Oz here, and today I've got some r/AmITheDevil for you all. As per usual, I'll be reading the posts, giving you my own opinion, and I hope you do the same down in the comments below. And without further ado, let's jump right into it. Cross-posted from r/AmITheAsshole. Am I the asshole for gambling half my kids' college funds and winning? Okay, I know that the title sounds horrible, but hear me out. About a week ago, a group of friends and I took a trip to Vegas, and for the record, we all got COVID tested before we went out. I'm looking for a judgment on this specific thing, not on me taking a vacation. The casinos have just opened up recently, and my friends and I have always enjoyed a little bit of gambling, so we decided to check one out. I usually have a specific fund dedicated to gambling, so I don't use up any of our savings, but most of that fund ended up being put towards rent during quarantine, since my girlfriend got laid off of work. Now, here's where I think I might be the asshole. It had been over a year since I had gambled last, and I really wanted to gamble. Any other gamblers out there reading this post will get it. I didn't want to take away from the house fund or from our grocery fund, so I decided that taking money from my kids' college funds would be the best option. One of them is 14 and the other is 11. So there was still plenty of time for me to get the money back before they actually go off to college. And I ended up winning. I kept all of the money that I gambled, and I ended up making a profit of about a quarter of the fund. I called my girlfriend and excitedly told her the news, but she asked where I had gotten the original money from. I told her, and she freaked out. She screamed at me, told me that she was going to tell the kids how immature I was, and hung up on me. I know that it was a little bit irresponsible, but I don't really see the issue. If I had lost the money, it might be a different story. But I won, so I don't get why there's a problem. Now my kids have even more money to put in their college fund, and I got to gamble like I wanted to. It's been 3 days since that conversation, and she hasn't responded to any of my calls. I'm getting really sick of reaching out to her when I don't think I did anything wrong. But my flight home is soon, and I don't want to... oh, dude. But my flight home is soon, and I don't want her to bitch about me not apologizing when I get home. But do I even have anything to apologize for? So, Reddit, am I the asshole? Oh god, devil's down in the edit. Edit, I don't think you guys get it. I only gambled about 30K, and now me and my family are better off because of it. Don't you guys understand that I won? I accept my judgment, but I disagree. It is unfortunate that one of the gambler's fallacies that I see very commonly is the, but I won. It doesn't matter what they wagered or the fact they could have lost, it's just the fact that they won, so it doesn't matter what they wagered or what they did behind their partner's back. They took their child's college fund and put it up on the table for gambling. If they did lose, how would you explain that? Sorry, honey, if you were a gambler, you'd understand what it's like and why I had to gamble our child's college fund away. I promise I'll get it back. By more gambling. Seriously, dude, do you expect me to read that sentence and not to fill in the blank that you're going to try to gamble the college fund back if you lost it? Like, yeah, congratulations, I'm fucking ecstatic for your family that you did not lose the college fund. But dude, the problem here is the fact that you went out of your way to pull your child's college fund. Could have lost it, and you don't see the problem with that. And the worst part is that because of how gambling affects the brain and how it deteriorates your reasoning for the chasing of the wins, he's probably going to do this again. He's probably going to chase the high of betting something larger and hoping that he gets that win again. Now, like, the thing is, if you want to gamble, go for it. But make sure that whatever you are putting forward on the table is money that you are willing to lose. And if you're going to Vegas, the best way to treat gambling is you are paying $20 to play a round of blackjack. You're not gambling $20, you're paying $20. And if you get your money back on that, cool, you get a free round of blackjack. That's just what I oftentimes will play because I like blackjack. But, whether it's craps, roulette, poker, whatever the hell's your cup of tea. It is far safer to treat that initial bet as money you are never going to see again. Cross-posted from r/relationship advice. My 33 male, wife 32 female, handled a disagreement immaturely. How do I get her to respect my feelings? We're both at fault. See, I'm a jokester, and I do some pranks. A couple times I did a prank where I pretended to cheat on her. Now she told me she doesn't like those pranks, but I did it one more time and I shouldn't have. Well, my wife got back at me by doing a cheating prank. It hurt my feelings. I now see what she means by cheating pranks aren't fun, but I'm hurt that she knew how hurtful they can be, yet did it. She said, obviously, I'm the type that needs to learn through experience, but that's not true. I would never intentionally hurt my wife. Except for the numerous times I did cheating pranks. When I did the pranks, I didn't realize how big of a deal they was, but she knew and still did it. I love my wife and our marriage is fantastic and hoping to start trying for a baby, but this hurt my feelings a lot. It's okay when I do it. In fact, I found it so funny that when she told me she didn't like him, I did it one more time because I thought it'd be funny. I'm a bit of a jokester, you see. But then when she did it on me and it hurt really bad, that wasn't fair. She knew how bad it would hurt, but she did it anyways after I did it when she asked me to stop. See, she's the one at fault here. See, I'm going to do a little bit of a practical joke because I'm also a jokester, where I'm going to take an aluminum bat and hit it to the shins. I call it aluminum bat to the shins. And I'm going to go and do it to people even when they tell me, hey, don't do that. That fucking hurts. I'm gonna do it one more time anyways, because, I do some pranks. But then, see, the problem is a few days ago, they came around and they hit me with an aluminum bat to the shins. And that didn't feel good. If they knew how much it hurt to hit someone with an aluminum bat to the shins because I did that to them, why would they do it to me back? It's only funny when I do it. Cross-posted from r/AmITheAsshole. Am I the asshole for properly medicating my child? I'm 37 female, my husband is 35 male, and my kid, I'll call her Jane, is 12. I also have a baby daughter, 14 months, and a son, 3. Jane's dad, not my husband, I'll call Alan. Jane has always been a handful. She's very smart and a sweet girl, but she has been argumentative, stubborn, and oppositional since birth, as well as other issues such as random anxiety and occasional hyperactivity. She still throws tantrums, and unfortunately we get into screaming matches regularly. We're in family therapy, and she, and I, for that matter, are in individual therapy as well. The pandemic has been incredibly hard on our family. My husband lost his job, and I became the sole support, working constantly overtime and trying to care for our kids. I'll be honest, I just couldn't take Jane's acting out and work 60-plus hour weeks and care for an infant and a toddler and a preteen. After talking to her doctor and a therapist, we decided to try medication to treat her behavioral episodes. We tried several different medications before deciding our current cocktail. It works wonderfully. Jane is calm, doesn't argue for argument's sake, and is focusing better in school. Unfortunately, there are some side effects, one of which is weight gain. Per the charts, Jane has gone from 20 percentile for her height to obese. She definitely does not look obese in any way. She just has adorable chubby cheeks and a little round tummy now. To be honest, she looks super cute. Her pediatrician is not thrilled with this change, but also emphasized to me that health is mental as well as physical, and that Jane needs a healthy/sane mother and a happy family to be healthy. Jane has decided that this medicine is ruining her life by making her fat, and I'm the wicked witch for putting it on her. She did dance pretty seriously before the pandemic, and she's upset she can't execute her dances the same way anymore. I told her I'm committed to finding her a dance class that would welcome her when it's safe to do so, which I absolutely am. Her father told her that she wouldn't have to be on meds if he lived with her. It's easy for him to say that because his wife doesn't work, and he is very high income. Jane and her father want Jane to move in with him for the remainder of the pandemic, mainly so she can get off her current meds. I refused. Jane can't leave her home because she doesn't like being medicated. Jane called me many names, and now I'm feeling like an asshole. So, am I the asshole? So, there's a common thread that shines some pretty interesting light on this. Started by Painted Gay. I don't get why her moving in with her dad is a problem, lol. Regardless of who's working and the income, and OP's feelings about those facts, every single party is in agreement that Jane would be happier and not need the medication if she lived with her father, including step-parents. So, seems an obvious solution. Strangled in Moonlight responds, child support. OP is the only working adult in her house and has 3 kids. If dad has a high income, she's likely getting a lot of money and using it to help with their general finances. No 12-year-old daughter, no child support. Easier to drug the kid into compliance and keep the money. Fitbase is 2089 responds, She said in the comments that she didn't want her daughter to live with the bio dad because then 5 people would be homeless. So it's 100% about child support. She doesn't give a rat's patoot about the kid, obviously, or she wouldn't just drug the girl into submission. She just needs the money that comes with having her in her home. I hope dad took her to court and received full custody. Rodin265 ends the comment thread. The post is 4 years old and the kid is 16, old enough to just drive to dad's and refuse to come home. Oh, the shocked Pikachu faces must be glorious. There's also an additional comment thread by Judgy McJudgyPants, which includes comments from OP. Comment chain. If I let her stay short-term through the pandemic, there is no way she'd come back after. He would manipulate her and bribe her into staying with him long-term, and then he'd use her as a pawn. And I'd never get to see her unless I agreed to his every demand. I spent 7 years as his puppet, asking how high whenever he said jump, and I just refused to do any more of it. A commenter responds, what would his demands be? Take your pick. She doesn't come over unless I know what meds your husband is on. What? You have to feed her the food that I send with her. None of your fat poor person food. Alan is the fucking king of the fat shamers. His mom is the Lord Empress. Jane can't watch her siblings. And I know that by watch he means play with outside of adult supervision even when the adults are in the next room. I get to call Jane whenever I want to, no matter what the family might be doing and if I'm interrupting anything. Those apparently would be his demands. And Fisher Crow responds, so demands like, I want to know that your husband is medicated and safe for my daughter to be around. I want my daughter to be well fed and I will provide the food for her. I don't want my daughter to be looking after her half-siblings, and I clearly don't trust you to not take the piss on this matter. I want to be able to contact her. Which, I admit, are the most charitable ways I could interpret these, but OP does not appear to be a reliable narrator when it comes to the motivations of others. The implied parentification from that comment does definitely come across, and it does sound like that she kind of just wants to medicate her daughter, get her wound down so she's more compliant, use her as a pseudo-parent, and keep her around so she's easier to deal with, easier to manage, does exactly what she's told to, and she gets a healthy dose of child support of the process. There's also, when rereading her entire, post, a lot of just small red flags and landmines that are scattered about that you wouldn't notice at first. Or perhaps I just didn't notice them at first because I was more focused on the narration side of it. But when OP states as justification for the medication cocktail that her daughter has been difficult since birth, or specifically stubborn and oppositional since birth, as well as other issues such as random anxiety and occasional hyperactivity. And her response was to force a medication cocktail that her daughter was not happy with. And that cocktail was affecting her physically, mentally, emotionally, and probably putting her in a position where she felt like her body and her life wasn't her. I mean, hell, the pediatrician tried spelling it out to OP that mental health is as important as physical health. There's also an interesting comment that OP included that's kind of telling. Why would the pediatrician be commenting on the mother's health and sanity? Specifically, in that Jane needs a healthy/sane mother and a happy family to be healthy. What an interesting thing for a pediatrician to tell you unprompted. Unless it wasn't unprompted and you're just leaving out a massive bit of the conversation. But yeah, OP is firmly the devil because this comes across that she is more than willing to forego her daughter's mental health and physical health with a slew of chemical cocktails and pills in order to maintain her keeping the child support. And other things as well. Cross-posted from r/today I fucked up. TIFU by telling my girlfriend's grandma to shut up and eat it. My girlfriend, 25 female, invited me to her big family dinner and warned me in advance that her grandma is 93, hard of hearing, and loves asking people what's in the food. She told me to just smile and repeat things if needed. We were having lasagna and grandma kept asking, "What's this?" over and over again. Eventually, I tried to be funny and jokingly said, "Shut up and eat it, grandma." The table went silent. Apparently, she's not that hard of hearing. Apparently, the "shut up" is a huge deal in their family. Her mom gasped. Her uncle choked on a breadstick. Grandma blinked and muttered, "Well, I never," and refused to eat another bite. I apologized profusely, but it was rough. My girlfriend didn't talk to me the entire drive home. Too long didn't read, tried to make a sarcastic joke at dinner with my girlfriend's family, told her grandma to shut up and eat it, and now I'm probably banned from all future family functions. User Sarshu says this better than I could have ever said it. There's a real undertone here of treating grandma like she's not a real person because she's hard of hearing and old. He thought this would be funny to other people at the table who might get frustrated with repeating things to her, because the idea that other people care how grandma herself feels is totally foreign to him. There's no world where grandma would find this funny. The whole joke rests on, oh my god, this old lady is so annoying, and we all know that, right? Emergency Twist 7136 responds, yeah, missing the part where they actually love her. If someone I was dating said that to someone elderly in my family, I'd tell them to get out. At best, OP is immature and has let all of his views of elderly people to be informed by media and the kind of jokes that are played at old people's expenses that they begin to suffer from as they age. And at worst, he's just a dehumanizing asshole. And don't get me wrong, none of these scenarios make what OP did to be okay. I'm very much in the boat that he fucked up greatly, and this was an unacceptable thing to do, even if it was meant as a genuine joke. Which again is why I included Sarshu's comment, because they were able to put into words exactly what I was thinking. A good litmus test for quote-unquote jokes like this is, would this have been funny if directed towards anyone else at the table? Or, for that matter, would it have been funny directed towards someone with Alzheimer's, dementia, hard of hearing, a child, for that matter? Crosspost from r/AskMedAdvice. Have I made a mistake? Sorry if this is long. I'm sitting alone in a hotel room in the Philippines. It's my last day here, and I should absolutely not be alone right now. I'm hurting and having a bit of a crisis. Long backstory. So, after a long, hard 15 years of trial and error with conventional dating, I decided to offer a marriage visa to a young woman here in the Philippines. She's a member of a large family that I'm very close with over here. It's a long story how I even met any of these people. Suffice to say, I was lured here 7 years ago by a young woman with bad intentions, and half of her family, who I met in person, took it upon themselves to stick up for me and tell me that the girl had been trying to baby trap me and extort me for money. Her plan failed when I visited, and she ran right back to her ex after I left. Our relationship was a fraud. I have remained close with that side of the family, and 2 years ago, a young woman I had never heard of appeared out of nowhere, asking me for singing advice. I realized quickly that this was the eldest niece of the 3 sisters who stuck up for me back then. We established a little back and forth friendship. She's very beautiful, but also in her early 20s. Frankly, too young for a guy who is 40, at least by American standards. Over here, we haven't raised a single eye walking around as a couple. This is pretty standard. But I am facing some judgment for this at home. I've lost 2 female friends. Anyway, eventually, after about 9 months of chit-chat, she lays it on me that she can no longer pay for her college, and as I am the only foreigner she knows and trusts, asked if there was any way I could help her pay for it, as a loan. I was honest with her. I was 39 at the time, and if I committed to putting her through college for several years, that effectively means I cannot have a girlfriend or wife. No woman would ever accept that arrangement. I'm not a bad-looking guy, but I'm not getting any younger, and I'm pretty freaking lonely. I had almost given up. So I offered her a marriage visa here, and college in the USA. I told her we could sign a prenup, use the 2 years that she legally has to stay married to me before she can apply for a green card as our dating period. And if we weren't happy at the end, we go our separate ways. She took 5 days to think it over, and came back with a yes. But she doesn't want a paper marriage. She wants the real thing. The Philippines takes marriage very seriously. I was a bit taken aback by how eagerly she wanted to commit her heart to me, and over the last year, we've been through some ups and downs, but she's a good-hearted person. And we have fallen in love, as much as 2 people with an 18-year age gap can, over the internet. Now, I'm here, and while she's very affectionate behind closed doors, I can't help but feel the age gap. I'm struggling to actually find things we have in common. She is a wonderful girl, but very much acts her age. She's a little bit high maintenance and vain. She spends hours recording TikTok dances. She's also a virgin and decided pretty early on in the trip that full-blown sex is off the table, after telling me she was 100% ready for that for 6 months before I arrived. I can get over that. I'm a man. Obviously, I'm disappointed, but I'm not a shitty, pushy guy, and she's not left me bone dry either in that department. Virginity is just a huge deal over here, and also she's literally afraid of my dick. I get it. Anyway, I'm sitting alone right now on our last day together because her 13-year-old neighbor stole about $100 worth of designer clothes off of her clothesline a week before I arrived, and she took it to the local officials, as the child was blatantly wearing her things around the barn guy. The court has summoned her back home to deal with this 3 separate times now, all during this trip, and for 2 of them, she did not come back as promised the same night, and waited until the following day, saying it's dangerous here for a woman to travel alone after dark. I had no choice but to accept that. So, 3 days and 2 nights out of 13 have been lost to this crap. Here I am sitting alone in a hotel room again on our last day. She has to come back tonight to get all her things, but her best friend is coming along. Again. For safety reasons. Meaning our last night will be intruded on by a guest. I just don't know random stranger reading this. She's an amazing young woman, and I want to keep my word to her. I'm just very disappointed in how this trip has gone. It's not any one single issue, but a sum of a lot of small ones, leading me to a sudden realization that I've committed my life, my heart, and my future to someone very different than me. She hasn't done anything wrong, but I'm having critical doubts about this whole thing, and I'm almost feeling some crushing guilt about the age gap. I hope I haven't made a terrible mistake. I hope we both don't get hurt here. I just want what's best for her. I love her, and I plan to move forward with the visa application. Please God, let this work. Thank you to anyone who took the time to read this. I'm so alone right now, and I am scared. So if it ended there, I'd feel kinda bad for the guy because it's kinda clear he just keeps falling into potential romance scams. But then, the person who cross-posted this, FF Friday Enjoyer, left this comment, a little excerpt from OP's previous comments. Okay, so this one is giving me vibes that it's creative writing, but if it's real, OP gets real sinister in the comments. He's bragging that he's integrated himself so much into this girl's, who is 18 years younger than him by the way, family, that she'll be disowned by all of them if she leaves him. He's also up and down the comments telling people about their sex life and repeating over and over about how he knows for sure that she's a virgin, and she's scared of his dick, question mark, question mark, question mark. Whole situation sounds like a goddamn mess, and OP is a creepy fetishist even if it is creative writing. This is OP's comment that made me cross-post here. I'll be honest, I think she'll give me a fair chance because of her upbringing. Her plan is to build a life with me, and we can support her family back home. Could she leave me later? Yes, people in their 20s change as they grow. I can tell you that if she did what everyone here is anticipating, her mother would disown her as a beery cat girl. This is a very traditional, very poor and religious family from the provinces. Last week, I took a 6-hour round trip to meet her extended family that lives on the other side of the island, and her infant cousin slept in my arms the entire ride back. 2 nights ago, I took her mom, her grandmother, her aunts, younger siblings, and cousins to a very nice seafood feast at SM Seaside. So I will say this with supreme confidence. She knows there are exactly 0 other Americans who are completely on board with elevating her family from poverty as a team. I'm heavily integrated with her entire family, and in particular, her mother. I've been a godsend for this family. When their cooking element failed, or they had no water to drink, she would be disowned if she bailed on me. That is a fact. I just can't be sure that is a bulletproof defense from her making a mistake in a few years. Brown Beans Curry responds to this comment. He fully believes the whole family worships him as their white savior. Delusional. They just want his money. That poor girl, though. I hope her family doesn't actually disown her after they're done using her to lure him. This kind of walks into a position where even if OP's being romance scammed and you would feel bad for him for that aspect of blindly walking into love, he definitely has some pretty gross and malicious intentions about how he's planning this, and has definitely sat there and thought about the fact of, even if she is scamming me, I'll get her family to disown her. So, yeah, just a messy and gross situation all around, and part of me worries that in this situation, what's actually going on is that, as Brown Beans Curry kind of pointed out, that maybe the family is using the girl to use him to get to his money, and she's just kind of being used as a pawn unwillingly, and that's what's going on here. And that's honestly one of my biggest fears in a scenario like this, and he's just entirely taking advantage of the scenario. Ugh. But what are your thoughts on this fucking train wreck? Cross-posted from r/Momit. Server spilled coffee and burned my baby this weekend. So this weekend, we were driving down to Tennessee to spend a nice relaxing evening at a cabin. I have an 11-month-old baby girl who is just able to sit in a high chair. We stopped at a well-known sit-down chain restaurant. After getting settled and being handed at least 6 menus between the 4 of us, we started to figure out what we wanted. Well, my husband ordered coffee, and the server decided to try to pour it in front of my daughter, then hand it to my husband. It was like watching something in slow motion. Her fingers grabbed the porcelain coffee cup, and it immediately spilled all over her. I stood up, ripped her onesie off her, and ran outside to my van. I quickly took baby wipes, dipped them in my water I had, and started draping her in cooled baby wipes. I then ripped her diaper off and then just held my burned daughter against my chest with both of us sobbing in the parking lot. No one came out to check. The server saw it, the lady near us saw it. The server even said, "Let me get you napkins," like that would help. Eventually, my husband came out and said he asked for Neosporin and no one knew what that was. I just sat inside my van holding my burned baby covered in water-soaked wet wipes. Finally, the manager came out with some lidocaine spray and basically said sorry. Needless to say, my daughter now has second-degree burns on her wrist and thigh. I think I minimized the damage done because I covered her in antibacterial Vaseline and cold wet wipes for the next several hours. I am now nursing her burns as best I can. I took her to an urgent care a little ways outside of the location where the incident happened. The nurses were awesome at the urgent care. They were so sweet with my baby daughter. They wrapped her wrist and thigh in this pink tape, and that made me cry because it was so sweet. The nurses were so caring and understanding. They handled my baby with such care. I'm just heartbroken. I'm so careful and diligent with both my kids. I just keep replaying the scenario in my head over and over. I don't know why I'm making this post. I'm just sad and I can't get past it. Edit. Server should have taken the extra steps to put the cup in front of my husband, who ordered the coffee. The fact that it was close enough for my baby to reach it shows the negligence of the server. So I don't think this person's the devil, I just think they're extremely negligent because the server didn't spill the coffee on your child. You were close enough for your child to be able to reach and grab the coffee mug and spill it on themselves. And yeah, that is incredibly unfortunate and tragic, and that's definitely something that would be extremely stressful and hell to go through. But I don't think it's fair to put the blame entirely on the server. Also, I've seen some comparisons to McDonald's coffee case in the comment section of this Reddit thread. They're not the same thing, because on one hand, with the McDonald's coffee case, what had happened with that is McDonald's had internal memos showing they were purposely overheating the coffee to almost 200 degrees Fahrenheit, near boiling when they were serving it because they knew that the flavor was horrible, and boiling coffee was essentially flavorless. So it was a good way to mask the horrible flavor. And someone had taken the coffee that was served to them to their car, had put it in their lap to add some sugar to, the coffee had spilled, and the burns were so bad that the skin in their lap fused together. And then McDonald's, trying to save face, then paid a bunch of PR campaigns to essentially change the entire narrative of the lawsuit to just be that she spilled coffee on herself, sued McDonald's, and won a bunch of money for it, purposely disguising the fact that they had internal memos that showed that they had purposely heated the coffee to extreme temperatures that would cause third-degree burns. But in the end, I am happy that OP's baby is okay. I just wish they didn't place the entirety of the blame on the server. Now, if I'm gonna be honest, I was 50-50 on covering this story because I wasn't sure if it fully fit into the devil category, but there was a comment from Annex Data below, which I'll be showing here, that I think is some really good advice just to be aware of. The timeline here is not clear, but just in case someone is in the 1 in 10,000 learning this today, do not put Neosporin, the standard ointment, or Vaseline on a new burn. Basically, avoid anything that has a Vaseline-like consistency. Ointment like that will make the burn worse. If you or your kid gets burned, you should get to a bathroom and run cool, not icy, water over the area. And for those of you wondering why that makes it worse, it's because the oily and thick consistence of the ointment prevents the heat from escaping the burn and essentially traps it within it and continues to escalate it. That's at least my understanding of this. To further the comment thread, Pepper VL comments, right? Even if the server had made a mistake and spilled the coffee on the baby, she didn't, OP made the absolute worst possible decisions at every point after that. Took the baby to the car instead of to the bathroom where there's running water. Used wipes instead of running water. Put Vaseline on a new burn. waited for someone from the restaurant to come out instead of going to the hospital immediately. Went to a hospital out of the area instead of the closest one. Like, if she'd toss a water glass on the kid and rush to the bathroom, plopped the kid in the sink, stripped her, and applied cool running water for 10 to 20 minutes, then went straight to the nearest emergency room, the kid would have had much more mild burns. The way the mother treated and handled the infant's burns might actually lead to permanent long-term scarring. Don't forget, this is brought to you by GamerSupps. Use code ODDS at checkout. It's basically a caffeine powder that you put in your water, and I actually really like it. I use this on a daily basis. Don't forget that every purchase you make using code ODDS directly supports the channel. And if you want a personal recommendation from me, I would either recommend the Soda Pressing Pear or Dragon Fruit Punch. Those two are currently my favorite flavors. And as a note, once we sell a certain amount of stuff, I get my own flavor and my own cup, and you all know I'm gonna choose some degenerate shit that's gonna make their PR team squirm. My goal is to make them regret partnering with me. So please, use code ODDS at checkout to make my dream come true of making a PR team squirm.